Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. We're here with Donovan from Centurion Labz, Director of Sales, and we're about to have a conversation. See where it goes.
Yeah, let's get into it. We're doing that when they're working out before, during, or after.
I didn't even know it. So when I'm just taking creatine monohydrate, 5 grams by itself.
Not saying you're not utilizing it, but there's a potential that you're not.
All right, I didn't know I did.
It depends on the person, depends on their body type, depends on are they hydrated, are they not hydrated, have they drink water, are they drinking enough water, do they have carbohydrates in their system? So I wouldn't say there's an exact study or anything that says, hey, utilization of creatine is only X percent if you miss one of those boxes, right? We don't know that, but in theory, the pathway to drive creatine in the muscle, that's one of the boxes that need to be checked. So, and then of course,
you got that dialed
AstraGin
in.
with the absorption, 33%.
Amen. See, we got these.
We could talk about that kind of stuff.
Stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean that's doing really, really well for it. We're gonna do 2 flavors of it in the summer.
So there's a chance that if I take my 5 grams by itself, I'm not really getting the full usage of the 5 grams.
Potentially, not officially, but potentially.
And say I have a crappy day of diet, I went like to Chipotle or something.
Yeah.
And that was it.
And you didn't drink any water.
Didn't drink any water. Didn't drink my lemon perfect.
Because how your body regulates things, and this goes for any supplements. This goes for carbohydrate delivery. Anything in the nutrition industry doesn't work unless your body signals it to. And the big driver of signaling your body is your kidneys. Your kidneys tell liver, pancreas for carbohydrates, and then for a lot of the absorption is your kidneys. Your kidneys, if you have too much sodium, not enough potassium, you're out of whack. Your body doesn't know what to do with things. You start to just urinate things out, and you don't utilize them, right?
You guys have a kidney product, right? And then
I wouldn't say it's a direct kidney product, but it could be utilized. More of a total organ cleanse.
what's one of the biggest ingredients that's going to help with kidney health? If you're gonna talk about kidney health, let's just jump on kidney health.
Kidney health?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to abuse your kidneys by, throwing sodium at it all the time, forgetting potassium, magnesium, and other things. And I mean, of course, in the industry, there are other things that people use that
cause kidney problems,
right?
Yeah.
We won't get into that, but
we'll avoid that conversation.
We'll avoid that conversation. We'll keep it PG. But when you talk about kidney health, you want to make sure, the American diet is very sodium heavy. You want to make sure you're hydrated. Look at all these companies coming out with hydration products. Ghost. I mean, they've done a great job with it.
I think you have too much, right?
Sure. What?
You can have too much hydration.
You can have. Oh my God, yeah. But all right. So there's a balancing act. Your kidneys. Your kidneys want to be at homeostasis, right? They want to be at a baseline level to say, hey, we're here. We know what to do here. When you go here, like let's say you spike your sodium.
Yeah.
Your kidneys are like, how do we get back here? And then it kind of messes up the whole picture.
When you're balancing the magnesium and potassium, though, that's where you're kind of keeping the kidneys calm.
Correct.
And then when you spike it with a McDonald's meal,
correct.
Then they're like, whoa. And so someone who's not nutritionally well informed and they're eating McDonald's on a daily basis, their kidneys are always kind of on like a.
That's why they hold water.
So then a lot of the weight that you see on that person is a water weight.
Correct.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So that's that more water retention.
If only we knew that.
Heavy. Right? So, but you have high-end athletes that compete, that do marathons, that do play football, whatever it may be, even a bodybuilder, right, is going to need extra electrolytes because they're sweating it out at a higher rate than Joe Schmo sitting at a desk, right?
Yeah.
So that's another big part of it too. So when we developed Godly Cree, that was the big driver behind that is how do we marry the word functionality, and I think you guys actually even brought that up. I didn't even think about it when we were developing this product. I think it might have been you, Mark, that was like...
Additional functionality was a term I used, right?
Yeah, I think you said additional functionality. I was like, we can call this a functional creatine because we are checking an extra box. Actually, we're checking 2 boxes, right?
Okay.
We're checking, you're getting the creatine. Okay, that's like every other creatine. Then to make it functional, we check that box with AstraGin, 33% more absorption. We checked another box, which is how do we get that into the muscle? How do we saturate the muscle with the creatine, right? hydration.
And run me through that process of how magnesium, potassium, and sodium make creatine more functional.
Sure. So your body needs a driver, right? It needs to be signaled to use creatine, to use other supplements to work in the body, right? It doesn't magically just get into your muscle, right? It would be amazing if your body worked that way, but it doesn't. So your body needs signals, whether it's a carbohydrate, whether it's creatine, whether it's another supplement. Usually it needs, if it's going in the muscle, it needs a driver, right? It usually needs sodium, potassium, magnesium. It needs water, and it needs carbohydrates. To put it into the muscle and saturate the muscle with anything, you need those three things. And then you make sure your insulin levels are in check, and there's a whole. I always say it's like a Picasso painting, right? There's a bunch of random stuff going on here in your body, but your body all knows how to put it together if you give it the right tools.
This guy's good at podcasts, man. Already, like we just jumped into this conversation, and it was like
I've literally
immediately
been pitching this
boom,
to
boom,
accounts
boom.
all week, and I'm like, it's so engraved into my mind
I
about
love it.
like why we came up with this, why we developed this, and why we think this is way different than your standard mono that's on the shelf. Price point's going to be a little bit higher, but it's true. I mean, honestly, we call it a 2-in-1, but I really think it's a 3-in-1 because it has the absorption complex with AstraGin. So, I mean, really, functional creatine, hydration, and absorption all in one.
All in one. Creatine 101 right here.
Yep.
Let's go.
Yep. Not to say that creatine doesn't work in a normal setting. When you buy your normal creatine monohydrate, it's still going to work because, a majority of athletes understand hydration, right? But for your normal person, you're really, I even know a good analogy. You're really just guessing if that's going to really be effective. And there's no studies that say, hey, the normal person that sits at a desk and doesn't know hydration, no one's really married those theories together. And that's the interesting thing about our industry is all of our studies are done on one single ingredient, right? You guys have got a lot of combinations of how your ingredient affects other ingredients, which is really cool. And I appreciate it. And that's why we love to use AstraGin, love to use some of your other products like Zylaria, because we can see the symbiotic effect of everything together compared to, okay, when I make a pre-workout, we have 5 grams of this, 3 grams of that, 400 mgs of this. Like, it's all theory. No one has any idea how those compete, how those work together, right? We only have single ingredients. This is the clinical dose. That's what it does. So when you make a pre-workout, right, to pivot into that a little bit, when we make something like God of Rage, right, there's a lot of trial and error when that goes into that. Looking at, hey, how can we put out a good quality product at a good quality price point, but we're not saturating the product and making it, 20, 30, I wouldn't say 20, but 30, 40 grams to where are you utilizing that product? I'm all about product utilization. I'm all about like quality, but marrying that with affordability, right? Because you can just hyperdose something, but you're going to charge the consumer $70. Are there enough consumers out there that are willing to spend $70, especially in today's world when everything's expensive?
Yeah.
Where do you draw
down.
the line? I have respect for people that do that. I understand there are consumers, there's a time, there's a place, but there's no studies. And I'm a study guy. Like my background's in biochemistry. I love studies. I love to look at research.
I don't need a background in biochemistry.
It is, yeah.
What did you study?
Indiana University of Pennsylvania, random place. Okay. Yeah. So technically the degree there was a pre-med track, biology with a chemistry minor. So I got really big into bodybuilding in college.
Okay.
And then really got into like understanding like pharmacology, physiology, anatomy, and then with the bodybuilding married the two together and say like, hey, I really wanted to know how these things that I'm putting in my body work. Right? Either it's metabolically, absorption, hormonally.
So talk about a great career path going from that.
Yeah. And luckily, my background. Out of college, I came out. I was an athlete for NutriBio, and then they eventually asked me to be the Northeast sales guy. About a year later, out of college, and I was with them for a number of years.
How many years total at NutriBio?
I want to say 2.5, 3.
2.5.
3, yeah, or maybe about 3, yeah.
And they were still huge at that point, of course.
Yeah, that was when they were really starting to come up, right?
Okay.
So that's when I would say NutriBio really launched off from I would say small to mid size to really large size. Those couple of years we were there, at least in my territory, things like quadrupled.
So was that pushing more into brick and mortar like you're doing now?
Brick and mortar, yep.
And so that was all the eastern side of the country you had that territory.
Yeah. So
and you
I
were
had
just storefront, and going after it. That's where you obviously developed the skill you have now as a national sales manager, killing it for Centurion.
No, 100%. So like when I look at what we do with our retail partners now, I mean, I love the structure that NutriBio does. I give them props every time I talk to a retailer. It's like that's where I learned that taking care of the mom and pop retailers that respect what we do, respect the product, and they're going to pitch the product to the right person. It's not going to be Johnny, 18-year-old kid that has no idea what he's taking and then takes a high stimulant and gets sick from it. Right?
I always feel like the best conversations I've had in a supplement store is from the guy who owns the supplement store. Because he's passionate about every single product.
Correct.
He has that product there in the first place
Yep.
for a reason, because he knows it's going to sell well and he knows a lot about it. And then he's able to even have a conversation with you. And you're like some kid coming in, starting your gym career, and that guy is going to help you out more than an employee.
They're selling trust and they're selling
store.
advice.
Yeah.
And the good guys will sell that. You know, there's always bad apples in the batch, right? But you know, they usually weed themselves out over time because consumers will just go and buy online, right? You know, you can go on TikTok and order product now. Not to say that it's a great medium, not my favorite medium, because we want information out there. We want people to understand what they're putting in their bodies, whether it's from testing, whether it's from store owners that we like to work with, you know, because I mean, how I go out and I find our retail partners, I research them way ahead of time. Look what they've been doing. Look at their Instagram. Look how they're pitching product. You know, we actually pick and choose who we want to work with. It's not like I call everyone. I don't. Okay. I don't have time for it.
Do they usually have an Instagram, like a storefront, like a brick and mortar? Do they usually have like a
99% of the time, if they are surviving now, they have an Instagram.
Smart. Okay.
Yep. I mean, some of them are doing TikTok now, which is also not a bad idea, but it needs to be informative, right? Because I think that's what the issue is with a lot of people in the industry have a problem with TikTok, myself included to a degree, is there's a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of really bad information in our industry, and a lot of cheap information. So it's not a question of quality and what you're putting in your body. It's about how cheap can I get it?
And you're putting these, obviously, the effort into the formula. You want the store owner to be able to explain that and appreciate that, and then have the consumer understand why it's there in the first place, right?
And that's why we focus on that a majority of our business. You know, we have our online, we have our website, you know, we have social media, you know, we run some targeted ads for awareness, right? To get the brand name out there, continue to get the brand name out there, touch new consumers. But ultimately, we're not going to give them like hey, here's a 40% off code and a free t-shirt on our website. Like, you'll never see that from us. You know, we want to be around for the next 20 years. You know, Centurion's technically existed for 10 years. We took it over 4 years ago. And I mean, it's just compounded on itself year over year, moving it with the new labels, the new formulas, adding AstraGin into the products, adding Zylaria into our sleep formula. I mean, it's just really been a blessing to see people respond to that and respect it. And I mean, this is the first time I've been out in LA ever. You know, we have a few retailers out here, but met with a couple new retailers that have been in this game a while. And the conversations I've had with them is, I mean, I'm blown away about how much they respect what we're doing differently. You know, I don't know of any other high stim brands that are really out there third-party testing their products and going to retailers and being like, we care about your business, and this is why we're structuring the company this way, compared to trying to steal it from you online.
So walk me through, when you go into a store, what's your conversation like? You're talking about the product, talking about the formulas, but what's the conversation consist of with a brick and mortar store owner?
So usually it's pretty warm. I would never say any of my calls are cold calls. I always send sample units ahead of time. Okay. So like a month, 2 weeks, depends on my schedule, how busy I am. But I'll take a look at being like, hey, I know that I'm going to be in LA next month, right? So I'm going to send some sample units out to, let's say, 10 different places that I researched that I could say, hey, I would really respect and want to be in their store, right? So then I build my list off of that, build my schedule around that. So when I come in, I'm very targeted. I know who I'm going, know who I'm talking to, have my research done. Okay. So, I mean, and that goes a long way for those retailers too, that I understand and I want to be invested in their business, right? Yeah. I've researched their business. I see what they've been doing, and I chose to come there for a reason, right? Not just coming out of the blue, right? You already have the samples. You hopefully have maybe already been curious enough to try that, which most of the time they do. Some of the time they don't. These guys are very busy, so I respect that too, right? So we do that. We go in there, and then basically my conversation is like, hey, man, I'm from Centurion Labz. I sent you out some products. Like, I know you weren't expecting them. Usually that right there. Like, oh, I got them in the back.
And
I've been trying,
stoked.
and they're stoked that someone
People
came
love
out.
samples, right?
Right. They love samples.
We love samples. Who doesn't like free stuff?
Yeah, that's always been my structure doing that. I can't be everywhere now because I do all the formulations and a lot of the back end stuff for the company too. So normally I'm working from home. So normally I'm doing that via call. I hate doing emails. I'm not an email guy. I just feel like that's not personable. I'm way too personable. I know some people don't like me calling stores if I can't get there. So like middle of America where I'm not going to be able to get to with the time I have, I'm going to give you a call. Some people respect it. Some people get annoyed. But once we have that conversation of like, hey, this is what Centurion's doing differently. Like, I know you love the high stim pre, but let me tell you what we're doing differently. Let me tell you why I respect your business and I want to respect and be your partner for the next 20 years. And let me prove that to you.
And you're having that conversation. You're making it happen.
Yep.
Maybe that alone is, I feel like, a step in the right direction.
It speaks volumes.
Because as I'm a store owner, I'm now going to, first thing come to mind when a newcomer comes to my store, oh yeah, you know what's on top of my mind right now? Donovan. Exactly. Centurion's on top of my mind right now.
It's all about building relationships in this industry. I mean, a lot of viewers don't know this, but this industry looks really big from the outside, but it's so small on the inside.
It's crazy.
Everyone knows everyone. Everyone hears the rumors. Everyone hears the talk. All the jazz.
Some of the talk is wild too.
I mean, it is wild. There's some weird things that happen in our industry.
Yeah.
Good and bad. But it really gets around. And my reputation, I live and die by. So, I mean, I've been doing it for 10 years, and I feel like I've kept my reputation the same since day one, the way I learned in the industry. So, and I'm not looking to change it. And we're not looking to change our values at Centurion to, make a quick buck or to, make prettier margins. We make a fair margin. We make money. Wholesalers make money.
Value is a big drive for you guys, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So for these brick and mortar stores, obviously value is a big thing.
Yep.
Margins.
And it's going to be a slower growth, right? We're putting the marketing pieces into their pocket by trusting them with the product and their local following, right? Compared to, hey, we're going to spend $30,000 a month on targeted ads to go to our website, right? So compared to, a nice slow growth over 10, 20 years, because I love what I do.
Seems smart to me.
I have no intentions of ever leaving this. Okay. So I love this. I love the daily grind on it. Sometimes it's frustrating. I mean, we're all there. We get in our ruts. But at the end of the day, like, especially when I come out and I talk to retailers here that appreciate and really I can connect with and have an hour, 2-hour conversation I had with some of these guys this week. And just they're so passionate about what they do and have the respect for what we're doing and how can we like come together and kind of benefit each other. Right?
So what's something cool and exciting you've seen at like a brick and mortar store in this trip to California that's like new,
So it's I want to call it the LA vibe.
Okay.
Because the LA vibe is clearly different from most places in the United States. It's like the cool hip vibe. People are playing trendy music, some house EDM in their stores.
Okay.
They have really nice lighting. Shelves look nice and full. And I think like the attitude, a lot of people have been like super, super friendly here. I know sometimes LA gets like a bad rap in certain areas, but like everyone's been super friendly. But the aesthetic that all of these stores have here really speaks volumes about where the industry's going. I mean, a lot of people feed off of this too. They look at big metro areas to say, hey, these guys have been around, been successful, or doing really well. What are they doing in their stores differently, right? And the aesthetic definitely has to play with it. As a consumer, I mean, as an industry insider, I get excited to walk into these stores and say, okay, well, shit, like this is cool. Like I would want to buy something here if I walked in off the street, right? We want to create an experience for the consumer.
So Walmart, I had to throw Walmart on the bus here, but when you walk into the Walmart supplement section, it's like always a mess. Everything's scattered all over the place. Yep. The SKUs are all over. You can't really find out what you want. Whereas when you walk into one of these stores, these brick and mortar stores, everything's always clean cut. The shelves are perfect, and the lighting is always like kind of unique and like bright and sort of excitable. They said they had music going.
Yep.
So it's like an experience walking into these stores versus moseying on to the supplement section in a Walmart or a 100%. Target or something like that.
And in those
no
channels,
one's there to help you out.
Well, exactly. No
one's there to explain what you're buying.
They don't have a store manager that's passionate and knows what they're talking about, right?
Exactly.
They're going to have your retail associate that works the cash.
He doesn't know what's going on.
No idea.
Like he'll be like, "Oh yeah, I heard protein's good for you" or something.
Awesome. Like I mean, you might not even get that, right? You're gonna be, here's the protein.
Here's the protein. That's it.
I'm gonna go here.
Whereas this guy's gonna break down the formula, break down why you've included the things in the formula, and then you're thinking, well, this is a value choice.
Yep.
I appreciate that I just bought this product. Maybe I paid $10 more for it than the bottom line pre-workout, but I know why I bought that pre-workout, why I paid that extra $10, extra $15, whatever it is. At least you walked away happy about your purchase, you know?
And it's going to create retention because they're not only going to care about you liking that product and making sure you choose the right product for you, they're also going to understand where you're at in your fitness journey, your goals, or your diet, or they all also sell advice, and they care about their consumers because they want them to come back and feel comfortable with their advice, right? You know, if you kind of help them along their fitness journey, they're going to be clients for life, you know.
Speaking of a shout out here, did you stop at a place in Costa Mesa on 17th Street, Sports Nutrition? They have like a smoothie store in there.
No, I didn't.
I think we talked about this in the past at one store, and it was like
we might have. My big guys in the area is OC Discount there.
OC Discount's got a great place in Costa Mesa too.
Yeah, so I was hanging there for a while.
And there's a Mecca. There's a cool gym right behind OC Discount. There's like this super cool CrossFit gym. We actually did a training session there not too long ago.
Oh, nice.
What was that gym called again, Jared?
That one.
Chalk. Yeah, Chalk.
Chalk.
Yeah, owned by Ryan Fisher.
Ryan Fisher.
Why does that name sound familiar?
He's actually huge in the fitness. He's a big CrossFit guy.
CrossFit.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm not a big CrossFit guy, but okay, that kind of makes sense now. Like Chalk, CrossFit. Now I'm like realizing I shouldn't have wore like super short shorts for this. I'm like leaning back and yeah.
Sorry, the camera thing is up here. We got that going on.
Okay, good.
But
Keep
it was
PG.
just like a cool like gym, you know. Like, it was right behind. So if you're going to OC Sports Nutrition or going to Chalk, go check out OC Sports Nutrition. They're right there next to each other, and they're just like, you know,
I gotta head
both
back
cool
down that
places.
way. Tomorrow.
Costa Mesa's got some cool spots, you know. Costa Mesa's like, I think a lot of the cool brands you see come out. Like, you know, I'm not wearing Vans or not using wearing Vans. Vans is like a Costa Mesa company, you know.
Yeah,
They
it was a
produce
real
some
hip
good stuff.
area, man. I mean,
It's a cool area.
And the foot traffic down there is crazy.
Was it
for
really busy
stores
for like a
Dude,
weekday?
I mean, I was at OC Discount from, let's call it 1 to about 3:34.
And they were just getting people.
200 people through that door.
No way.
Yeah.
So at least we know.
It was insane.
You know, times aren't the best right now, maybe, but like, you know, at least supplements are going nowhere. People still want to buy their products.
No.
Because you're on
and
your
they
fitness
trust
journey,
them,
you're not
and
going to
it's
stop at
trust of the
fitness
mom and
jersey.
pop retailers. That's what it is.
They're gonna go
These
back.
people realize that they're not getting good information on TikTok. Sure, they might get the really rock bottom price. You know, I'm hearing stuff about TikTok now that there are drop shippers from overseas that are figuring out how to get our label files, not mine specifically, but other brands' label files, get on the TikTok and sell a rip-off product for $20
And you would have no
less.
idea as a consumer.
Nope.
That's pretty freaky.
Yep. So welcome to
Well, I
the
mean,
new
at least
day
we know
and age. This
TikTok's
is what's
not
going to
around.
happen, and they're a giant entity. They're not going to monitor that kind of stuff. I mean, there's going to be until they would really crack down on that. It's going on. It's definitely going on. Consumers, I'm hoping, are going to realize that as long as TikTok continues to exist. I would hope there's going to be some kind of enforcement. But
Scott Welsh actually came up with a product that you scan. We had him talk about that on the
oh, really?
W. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's a tab. I'll bring it up here.
yeah.
So that way you like have like that confirm, that guarantee
There's-
that this is the product that I'm buying.
Yeah, there's stuff like this, and I've never seen this, but there's also something someone told me. There's like a holographic that you can put on your barcodes that will tell you if it's
And you can't really hack that. You can't copy that and have it work the
it's a
same.
certain kind of barcode system that's very specific.
Isn't that
It
cra-
costs
it's
more money
crazy.
though. That's the big thing. It's a cost driver,
Mm-hmm.
but for protection, I don't let anyone have our label files. So
I mean, you guys do. I mean, you've been traveling like crazy recently. How many stores did you visit while out here?
It looks like I'm traveling like crazy. I only travel once a month anymore because it's all that I have time for.
Okay. Still.
It's I mean, when I'm here, how many days have I been here, dude? Everything's been like a blur. I was in Colorado on Saturday. There's a blizzard.
Work or
Work. Colorado
Okay.
Discount had an event.
Okay.
So one of the branch off Vegas Discount.
So how do you hear about these events? Are the stores contacting you, or you know, shouting, "Hey, come by"?
Yeah,
we're gonna be
they're
out
reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, we have an event," and they usually let me know.
Okay.
Usually let me know a couple weeks to a couple months in advance. So I feel like I live my life like 2 months in advance at this point.
And I got to book a flight. Let's get on the road. Go.
Yeah, so I'll build a schedule around that. Like I knew I was going to be going to Denver. I knew that for about 2 months. So I was like, okay, I'm halfway to LA. I got to go to LA. I put it off for a number of years.
What's your experience? This is, you said, your first time
First
here
time ever
in
in
Los
LA.
Angeles.
Yeah.
First time in California or just LA?
LA. Oh, no, I've been to San Diego
Okay.
a few times. I have friends in San Diego. We have accounts in San Diego. So that was always my first move. So I'm going to go to San Diego, stay at my friend's house, see my friends, do some work, right?
And you haven't had too bad of traffic. What's your thoughts on LA overall?
I mean, I like, everyone says this, every time someone on the East Coast says LA, it's like GTA, right? You're going there, it's going to be like GTA. I haven't seen any GTA related stuff here yet. So I don't know if I just jinxed myself for the next day and a half, or we're going to get down to the ball game tonight and there's going to be a bunch of crazies running around. But yeah, man, I don't know if that's like up in like Hollywood and the hills and all that kind of stuff. I stayed away from over there, obviously, with the unfortunate stuff going on over there. I've kind of stayed like to the southern part, down into the valley.
And you've been in Orange County most of the time on this visiting stores. Obviously, OC Discount. You visited, what, 10 plus stores the last few days?
Oh, more than that. Probably.
Okay.
Probably at least. Well, I mean, are we talking individual stores? Or are we talking like
Chains.
How
many changes does OC Sports Nutrition
They
have?
just have one.
Just the one here?
So there are other big guys in the area, a little bit south of here, the Pure Nutrition guys.
Okay.
They're about
I've seen
to
those
open
stores.
they're about to open their fourth store on Monday. They're a good partner of ours. So really,
Who's the closest one to us? We'll go give them a shout out.
here? I have no idea because I don't know my California geography.
Fair enough.
So I would like literally, you'd have to bring up a map and I'd be like, maybe here. But I'll say in this direct area,
Okay.
we don't actually have an immediate direct partner right by your office, right? There are a couple players that we talked to between today and yesterday. One that I met with that has a very large presence out in the valley, kind of maybe about 30 minutes from here. And they're big players. They've been around for a long time. They run a great business. Like I said,
and multiple stores. So that's just
they
like
have a good
you
amount
close
of
one
stores.
store, you get the whole lot,
yeah,
right?
and that's one of them that I'm like, you walk in their store and you're like, this is cool.
Okay.
They have a cool apparel line. They have some cool stuff. It's Body Goods.
Okay.
I'm sure you guys have heard of them. They have a couple out in the valley.
Body Goods, yeah.
Yeah, but
Sounds
I mean,
familiar.
so technically, I don't know how close we are to other stores. There's the one in Costa Mesa, the OC Discount, that does great business with us, and then the guys a little bit south of here, Pure Nutrition.
Okay.
They do a lot with us. So once again, we go back to LA traffic. I have no idea which way the traffic flows, what time.
We got Body Goods website pulled up right here.
Yeah.
Where's the closest location, Jared? What do we got? We got Laverne's far. Rancho Cucamonga's not that far. But, yeah, definitely more inland for sure.
Yeah, so
Pushing that whole area.
I mean, I met these guys for the first time last night, and just their owner had a great conversation with him. He really respects what we're doing.
Okay.
I respect what he's doing, like what kind of their vibe is, how they perceive customers, how they want to take care of their customers, and how they want to sell them products. Right. That's when I talk about earlier. Like, we are specific about. He was the only one in the valley I even wanted to talk to.
Okay. So when you were at NutriPow, did they have a similar model to this? Like go to the
Yes.
So you're there for 2 years. You learn this model that way, and you're like, all right, we're gonna go to the brick and mortars. We're gonna teach you the products from the ground up, and then therefore, you gain that passion from the owners, and then you took that, and you've been at Centurion for how long now?
4 years.
4 years.
4 years as of this
Okay.
month. Yep. Yeah. So it's
And the official title is National Sales Manager and Founder.
So no, actually, so we can go in the history of the
Okay.
technical founders of Centurion was 10 years ago.
Okay.
2 doctors in Philadelphia. They started the brand. My buddy Trevor bought the brand
Okay.
in what was that? Let's call it late 2020.
Okay. So not that long.
Yeah,
ago.
not that so about a little bit more than 4 years
This
ago.
is like the revamp of the brand as
Correct.
we speak.
Yeah. So I mean, very the old owners, very very not legal things they were doing anymore. It's all been banned by the FDA. So the question is, how do we turn that current and make it compliant? Obviously, I wanted to make it third-party tested, but that costs a lot of money, right? So you have to scale the business to be able to afford that kind of stuff, right? So what we did was start to eliminate all the bad stuff, right? That was first thing, without sinking the company, right? So it's a slow elimination process. It wasn't we didn't take over the company and there were glaring things that we were doing that were illegal or bad, or there were some maybe potentially what we call in the industry gray area stuff. but slowly just started checking those off, quarter by quarter and getting rid of those kind of things. So we would retain the consumers that we did have and then build new consumers the
Makes
right
sense.
way, right? So it's how do we rebuild the company the right way, whether it be product, whether it be flavors, whether it be marketing, marry those all together and then create a brand that can sustain for the next 20 years.
Let's talk about third-party testing. How important is third-party testing to Centurion Labz?
It's big. And we have a great manufacturing partner.
Okay.
I'll plug them, MacroCap. I don't know if I'm
MacroCap,
allowed to do
shout
that. MacroCap's great. They actually ask us and require us to do testing,
Okay.
and I think every manufacturer should do that.
They hold you guys accountable for the
And
products
it's
you
holding
produce.
them accountable
And
too,
holding them accountable
right?
as well,
Because we
for
hear
sure.
it so much of the time that, I got screwed over by my manufacturer. Well, if your manufacturer required testing, there wouldn't be no screwing over, right? I'll be honest, we wouldn't be able to afford the testing if we didn't have them, because they have so much volume going through their facility and through their testing partner that because they require it, they kind of help us handle that, right?
Wow,
And
okay.
they'll just ship it out. So like product gets done on a Thursday, they'll send it out to a lab that day. It'll go there
Mm-hmm.
next day, and then 48 hours they won't even let that get inventoried.
Okay.
It sits there in quarantine. They are like, and this is why I love working with them. Just like what NutriBio does, they do things by the book.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing it by FDA guidelines. Not that anyone's really enforcing that. And half these guys don't even follow that in manufacturing. So I call them a premier manufacturer because they do things by the book. They
Okay.
care about your business. They have a great flavoring team. They have great management. They have an amazing facility. They have all the certifications. Why would I want to be anywhere else? We have other partners that I respect, that we do other business with, and I will continue to do business with because they do right by us. But when you talk about powders and liquids, man, those guys, they're doing it the right way, and their facilities, they're fantastic, and they're local to me, right?
They're Florida, right? So
They're
we're
right by
Florida?
me. They're in Orlando.
Orlando? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're going to do a trip, I believe, this summer to go out there, visit them, visit a few brands. So we'll see the facility that
wait
way.
till you see that facility, the new one that they built.
Super
It
high
is-
tech.
Dude, they're the king of liquids, like
Okay.
beverage and liquids in our industry. Like if you think big player,
Mm-hmm.
that's where it's at. That's where it's being made.
And that's
They're
where the money's
like,
at right now, I feel like.
dude,
It's
if
tough
you wanna-
margins.
if you want to scale your company and sell to private equity,
Mm-hmm.
you better look at beverage. That's the only way you're going to do
seen
it.
it. We've
Private
seen it
equity is
firsthand.
not, sure. Like right there on the floor.
Right there on the floor.
They're the kings and the example,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and there's other big brands. I'm not going to name any, but I know they're being looked at by private equity, and they're
Because
doing
liquids.
beverage. It is impressive what people are doing in the beverage space and how that's kind of exploded, but it makes sense, right? Because look at the placement it can get: grocery, gas station,
Yeah, right.
sporting events, right? Concerts,
That's
goes to sponsoring concerts.
I know.
So
I go to
like
cons, I go
it's
to a
wild.
game.
So like you can pivot that into so many different areas.
Uh-huh.
So that totally makes sense from a business equity standpoint. Like these equity companies, these private equity companies, they're going to want to invest in something that can go in
Definitely.
different channels,
Growth.
multi-channel compared to powders that
Mm-hmm.
are going to be one channel. Maybe we can get it into big retail, but that's about, that online, and then brick and mortar would be your three choices.
So let's talk about what's the next exciting release that's going to come from Centurion. Can we disclose any
flavors.
flavors, new flavors?
Flavors.
Flavors all day?
We always keep saying we're not going to come out with a new product because
Mm-hmm.
we have so many products already. I think we had 26 at this point between
way,
our
okay.
health products, our support products, our pre-workouts, pumps, you name it. Like we cover everything
Mm-hmm.
just so we can retain a consumer and kind of keep them in our family if they're comfortable in like our branding and our products, right? So that's why we offer the large selection. Now we focus and we're known for our pre-workouts. So we're going to continue to expand those flavors, give
Okay.
our consumers that are loyal to us more options and more versatility than just like, hey, here's the same 4 flavors we've had for the past 4 years. Maybe we'll give you, another one down there. We want to have like a solid, 4 to 5 flavors of each one of our top products for you to kind of cycle through.
And I want to give a shout out to the Baja Blaze. Honestly, this is debatably one of my favorite pre-workout flavors I've had so far. It's like a childhood memory flashback to like having the T-Bell Baja Blast, and then also having the pre-workout.
yeah.
Whose idea was this? Give me the rundown on this one.
Dude, that was honestly a while ago. So much has happened. I mean, I feel like we came out with that 2 years ago. I thought they were pointing at me for a second.
No,
That came out 2 years ago, and I can't even remember. I want to give someone credit. I feel like Trevor and I came up with it, thought about it as like a good viable flavor, and then who we were manufacturing with the time was like, yeah, we could do it, and killed it. And it's our top SKU by far. Like
good.
one
It's
and
like
a half
the peppermint,
times
sour and
sells
sweet.
more. Yeah.
has that childhood like throwback nostalgic factor to it.
Yeah, there are a couple
And-
companies that do that flavor, right? I think we have a really good version of it. There's some out there that I think aren't up to par, but I mean that's all on how much time do you want to spend on your flavoring, right? That was very meticulous.
True that.
Like that was we sat down flavor after flavor after flavor after flavor, like until it was right.
So
So
let's talk about collabs. What are your thoughts on collabs and Centurion's stance on like collaborations and paid promotions?
are we talking collabs like flavor collabs?
Flavor collabs. Why? That's all the rage. All the rage these days is flavor collabs.
So we're
What's
going
your
back.
thoughts?
We're going back to how you want to structure your company, right?
Okay.
We structure it to be more mom and pop friendly. What happens when you do collabs? What does that do? It costs money.
True.
They take margin from you, which means you have to increase prices or you have to increase
Okay.
volume. So you have to have a buying power to increase volume to keep your prices the same because you're paying royalties for those flavors, right? I would love to do flavors as a marketing piece. If you're a big company and have the cash flow to do it and can spend the margin to increase your shelf space in big retail and Vitamin Shop and GNC, that's the way to go. I would love to do that if that was our business structure, but it's not.
Okay.
Our business structure is supporting the mom and pops first, taking the overflow online. We're not looking to do GNC, Vitamin Shop. We're not looking to be, the biggest person in Walmart or Target. It's just not our MO, right? Like I said, we want to do this for the next 20 years. So, I mean,
Smart.
but to each their own. I mean, I respect what the big guys are doing because they're doing something very special and it shows, right? And those flavor collaborations are great.
But you guys have bomb and flavors without even having to do the collabs.
Exactly.
So
I
once you
mean-
get that audience placed in, they come back.
We
because
work
that
with
reason.
some great flavoring people that do a great job. Currently, she does amazing work. And she'll sit down with us and figure out how to re-engineer. We're constantly re-engineering the flavors.
Okay.
Like God of War, our really, really high stem one, that will get a flavor refresh probably sometime later this year. Yeah, we're working on just
Okay. We're
same
looking forward to
flavors,
it.
just like constantly improving, right? Not just staying like, hey, we're doing well with this, like we're gonna settle, right? We're gonna constantly be looking to how we can improve the consumer experience from the feedback. And this is what's great with working with the stores.
Okay.
We get that direct consumer feedback, right? So if I worked with Target, GNC, Vitamin Shop, maybe GNC and Vitamin Shop would give me some feedback, but like Walmart, Target, big box, like
But
they're
not
not
even
going to
they
give you
know
any
who's coming
feedback.
back.
No,
They don't
No,
know
they're
if
just
they're
gonna take
pulling
the
that product
return.
coming back.
yeah.
Whereas
Or
like that mom and pop owner, they're like, you won't believe it. We've had returning customers for this product multiple times, and they have that feedback, they have that knowledge.
Yeah.
Whereas, like we said, the guy at Walmart, the guy at Target, they can't say anything
No.
because there's no way of proving it, no way of showing.
yeah,
So that's
yeah.
huge.
Yeah, no, it is huge. And I mean, you can do so much. There's so much flavor technology out there. You can get pretty much whatever you want to do and figure it out on your own to a very good degree. Now, it's not always going to be like, if you're going to try to do your own Swedish fish, but then you go to, is it Mondelez? Who owns Swedish? I don't even know who owns Swedish fish
Couldn't
at this
tell you.
point. But if you would want to go get Swedish fish from whoever owns Swedish fish, they're going to have that secret formula that's going to be nostalgic and recognizable and is going to taste like the Swedish fish, right? It's never going to be the same if you try to replicate it, but you can get a pretty
pretty close.
darn good flavor and make it your own, right? But of course, then you have to market it properly so then you're not
I kinda
ripping
like
off someone's.
the trend with this is like, I understand the concept of the flavor without having to go to the hassle of the collaboration.
Yep.
So when I'm taking this product, I understand that in the back of my mind, I'm thinking Baja Blast, but then in the front of my mind, it's like, I don't
Yeah.
really went back to the product and go, oh, it's not really Baja Blast.
Yeah.
Because it's
No,
the
no, it's
entire
a
time
completely different-
it's in
different
my shaker
ingredients.
bottle, right?
Yep.
I'm enjoying it at this point. I already left the label behind, and the whole experience I'm having is the effect of the formulation and the flavor that I'm tasting throughout my workout or before my workout, whatever
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
So that's the most important part, and that's why I'm going back to the product in the first place.
Yeah.
Is
And
the feeling and the sensation.
Flavors become, especially with the younger demographic, flavors become so prevalent of a box you have to check now, especially for pre-workouts. Like you're gonna drink that thing, how many, 4 or 5 seconds? But consumers are now like, if they don't have a good taste experience, they don't want to buy it. Even if they had a good workout and they love the product, like the effect of it, they won't come back and buy it if it doesn't taste good.
I'm in the weird camp where I like to like nurse my pre-workout, you know? I like to either have it like 15 minutes before and then like a little bit of the beginning of the workout as well. I'm kind of just sipping on it. I know it's not the ideal scenario.
I mean, there's like, probably a ton of people that do that.
It gets my mindset going. I'm like, all right, I'm sipping this pre-workout, getting ready for my workout, warming up, whatever it is, and then I get into the workout.
And then you hit it, yeah.
Whereas like I can't do dry scoops.
I wouldn't tell anyone to do dry scoop. I mean,
we're going
now we're going back to like science, right? Like when you look at dry scooping, okay, I get the convenience, I get the trend. That's why we came out with a liquid pre-workout for convenience, by the way. The liquid glycerol, God of Thunder.
Great product, by the
way.
Yeah,
thank you. I appreciate that. So, you know, we married that convenience with high yield glycerol and stimulants, right? We gave you that option. I don't want people dry scooping high stim stuff. Half the time your body's not even going to absorb it because you don't have water in your gut. You need water too. These things just, once again, they don't magically just poof work.
So dry scooping is bad. Don't dry scoop.
I'm team against dry scooping. 100%.
Okay.
No, I've never been a proponent of it. I mean, science-based evidence, you need water to dilute this in your gut and absorb it. You're wasting product. Like, once again, but there are no studies. There are no studies.
They need to know this information.
Yeah. I mean, but there's not a lot of education out there. If you go into any store, any brick and mortar store in America, be like, hey, should I dry scoop this, or should I mix it with water? They're going to tell you mix it with water. I mean, that's once again, getting someone that knows the information and giving you good information versus let's see what's trendy on social media.
I think one of my favorite videos of all time was Noel. What's Noel's last name? The famous guy on Instagram. Noel Dazel. He's like drinking the pre-workout in like a fancy glass.
Yeah.
And he's like, why would you waste, this this time and effort
that's a good,
on dry
He
scooping?
makes some funny videos.
And it's like he's like stirring it and he's like sipping it like it's like a cocktail or something really fancy. I thought that was one of the funniest things.
Dude,
it's true though. Like why would you put all this effort into like the formula, into the taste, into the flavor, like put it into a shaker cup, maybe get a cold water. I'm big cold. You got to have the water be obviously as cold as possible. Not ice. The ice throws me off. When you're like
if you throw ice, a lot of that's not going to mix.
Yeah, see,
because when you talk back to science, when you talk about mixing a solution, warmer water helps mix than colder. The colder you get, the harder it is to mix in.
So, like,
fun fact,
we're talking just cold enough out of like the I love
out of the spigot. You're fine.
The gyms have those ones where you put your shaker bottle underneath the.
You're fine.
Like you got to have those gyms. Shout out, like come on, like. Don't make me press a little button and aim it underneath the drinking fountain. Have the little, spot where it's meant for the bottle,
Yeah.
Best thing gyms can have.
Yeah.
Put that in there. The water is like cold enough to where it's like refreshing, but no ice.
Yeah.
Never have ice.
No, it can be refreshing temperature.
I'm sitting there for 20 minutes drinking my pre-workout, I swear. I like to sit back, enjoy it, enjoy the flavor, and then...
So you guys need to build a pre-workout cocktail bar just for him in the office now?
I want my shaker. I'm going to be mixing up. Too good. Man.
No bourbon bar. No bourbon bar in here.
Oh, trust me.
Because I know who in here would want the bourbon bar. But
Richard.
Yeah. I think the office is voting for a pre-workout bar. But I mean, it's when we're talking about mixing this product, pick up that product and tell me what it says on the back.
All right, what do we got here? What am I reading? I'm going label?
Yeah. Read the back of the label. Directions.
Right. Oh, directions. Look at 1 scoop plus 6 to 12 ounces of water plus 30 minutes.
Right there. All right.
And then also stack with Blood Rush for massive pumps, which we don't have any Blood Rush on us right now, but also a great formula. We can pull that one up on the screen there. Blood Rush by Centurion. But I mean, boom. I never even got to look at this, but this is so smart. Having simple directions to really make the formula work the best.
Because we want it to work for you. We don't want you to. We don't just want you to dry scoop it.
If I went to a brick and mortar shop, guess what? They would explain that to me. They would tell me.
Yes.
Whereas if I go to a Walmart or a TikTok where it's not even the real product on TikTok, How am I supposed to know that information?
Yeah. No, I'm not saying everything on TikTok's fake. Let's not like completely tear into it too
Anti-TikTok
much.
here.
I'm not a big TikTok fan, but let's not tear into them too much. There are companies on there selling legitimate products. There are retailers on there selling legitimate product too, and they do well. So I mean, there's a balance, right? But it's how much is TikTok going to enforce it? How are these people getting these label files and ripping? That's scary. That's the scary part.
You know, they're selling iPhones with old iPhones with TikTok still downloaded in it and still usable for $2,500.
It's an addiction.
That is
It's
wild.
a pure addiction. There's no question. It's a drug. It's a drug
downloaded.
for the youth of America.
Craziness. Can I get a Ghost hydration by chance? Thank you, Jamie.
The amount of time we've talked about Ghost so far. I mean,
The orange one is pretty ideal. I'm not gonna lie. It's good flavor because it tastes like orange juice. So you're
just drinking an OJ.
I also love these things.
I mean, the lemon perfects are great too. But I mean, like I said, I love potassium. So the more potassium I can get, which Ghost does a great job of. And Senactiv in there too. Yep. Plug yourself.
Plug myself here. Self-plugging. Senactiv.
It's been 47 minutes already? Yeah, you're asking the person that could talk to a wall for 4 fucking hours. My wife would tell me to shut up by now, because I'll just keep going. So, is there a topic that you guys want me to specifically talk about?
Nick, you pull up my questions.
You have questions?
I got questions. We got questions dialed in. I got most of them, but we'll just kind of go through like a few of them here, and then we'll get Ken up here to do some video content. You know,
The body goods guys know Ken.
oh they do.
They were talking. Oh, you're gonna see Ken.
No,
And I'm
way.
like, yeah.
Ken-
So like they reposted a video of Ken from here about something. I
we
think
gotta
it was
follow
about
them. We'll get an Instagram to go follow Body Glove. Give him a shout out, like some
Yeah.
photos.
Yeah, they're good guys.
'Cause-
Good guys, and they're doing things the right way, especially with the youth. Because a lot of times is the education piece doesn't always sit well with the youth, but these guys this is how it's gonna work if you're gonna shop at the store. So,
Smart.
which is respectable, very respectable. So,
Let's see. What do you want to answer out of these questions? What sounds entertaining?
I didn't bring my glasses. So,
So I guess what's the biggest change you contributed to the success of what's the biggest change you contributed to the success of Centurion Labz?
So we touched on it earlier. So the way Centurion's been around for 10 years was known for super high stim, hardcore things that are not even allowed to be used anymore. And then take my background and my knowledge from, just from the biochemistry aspect, product knowledge, doing things the right way, and then marrying it with wholesale mom and pop nutrition stores, and how do we work and support those partners to create a lasting business for the next 20 years, 30 years, compared to, hey, we're going to get super marketable and, cutesy with this or that online, run all these deals and, steal the business from everyone that we're valuing and we're partnering with. So that's really what I brought to the table. When I came in day one, that's why I was like, this is, and we're both on the same page. But like that was like, hey, this is our ultimate goal. Like I said earlier, was we wanted to third-party test products. We want to figure out a way to get there, be compliant with all the products, and really just say like, hey, we're here to play ball. Like we're not one of the little guys anymore. Like we're here to play ball. We want to be a player that people talk about for the next X amount of years, and people can trust and kind of understand where we're coming from and say, hey, I've been taking Centurion for 5 years now and I really like it, and I can tell my friends, and my friends take it, just word of mouth. And we market still, but I really like organic growth. And I think in this industry that helps with the information aspect that's usually missing, right? When you look at consumer retention, I'm trying everything I can get to get that customer. And like I said, we have 26 products to keep them in-house, to keep them with something. We'll never do protein. I'm going to tell you that right now. Just not our thing. We're known for high stim, hardcore pre-workouts.
Okay.
But we have our health line. We have our support products. We have our pump products that are non-stim. But we have something a little bit for everyone.
And you guys use a ton of AstraGin.
Yes, we do. There might even be some flavors of Godly Cree coming soon. Okay. So
New
maybe
SKUs added to the table.
Yeah, like I said, we're really big on doing flavors. That's really going to be the goal for 2025 is flavors.
Okay.
So
let's get political here. Why not? Let's get some plugs in. Let's get
Okay.
political. We got RFK coming into American politics. where do you see the future? Go back to my question. I was reading that. I was reading that there. Where do you see the future of nutrition and supplements going with RFK coming into the office here?
Okay.
Good things, bad things. What are your thoughts?
Good things. We'll just answer that with one phrase. Good things.
Good things.
But I want to backtrack to 2020, right? The pandemic, right? The whole scene of the pandemic, not that it was good, but for our industry actually shed a lot of light, right? Because a lot of the, butting heads with the government, looking into natural health and really people caring about their health more. So I think the industry as a whole over the past 4 years has kind of exploded. And I think that's for the good. So we have more eyes on the health and nutrition industry, which is great for all of us. Now, the problem is you have a lot of misinformation when it comes with that, through social media, through, different players. Now, I don't want to directly say that the FDA is very hard on our industry because they're very picky. They're hard on certain things, not hard on other things, right? And when we talk about manufacturing standards, everyone's kind of on their own the FDA doesn't have the enforcement team to check, all the manufacturing in the United States, make sure they're doing it the right way, right? RFK Jr., not that he's saying that absolutely he's not going to do that, but he's going to open up the channel to be able to do things a little bit more freely and look at some things that right now the FDA might be enforcing on or just like really want to like go after for whatever reason. Government hang up, we look at things like NMN,
yeah, that's a big one.
And acetylcysteine, NAC, like two big things. That's kind of what I'm alluding to more or less, to where you kind of question of like, why would they care about that, right? There's an agenda there. There's a political government agenda there that is clear as day to me, not clear as day to most people. Okay. But for industry insiders, there's a clear agenda there.
Can we talk more about that? What's the agenda, you think?
They're going to give it to a pharmaceutical company.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yep. Our industry does not have the money to bid on that kind of stuff. When they find something that works for a medical purpose, they're going to figure out how to pull that rug from us right away. Wow. We don't have the money to lobby. I mean, we have some there's some great guys. Ben Kane, Price Plow guys, Natural Products Insiders. I don't know his name specifically, but those two I know go to Washington a lot and really try to lobby for us.
I know Ben Kane will be watching this, so he'll appreciate that shout out.
Yeah, I've known Ben for a lot of years. I worked at NutriBio with Ben. That's yeah. So
well. Okay.
Yeah, we both started at NutriBio. So we're on the same page a lot of the times when
shout
it
out
comes
to Ben.
that
He
stuff.
can deadlift a lot of weight.
Yeah,
strong guy.
He's a strong guy, for sure.
But
But so my theory was they're going to sell it to the highest bidder pharmaceutical company. Probably came to the FDA and said, "Hey, we want that ingredient." NAC, I think, because of COVID, because it works against COVID.
Did it really?
Yeah,
I never heard about that. Okay,
Yeah.
NAC
Yeah.
against COVID.
Yep. There's
What
some
was
stuff
the
out there
synergies
about it.
that we know currently about
So
that?
I haven't really read much of the paper, but it has something to do with your respiratory system and how COVID affects your respiratory system and how NAC is more or less like a antioxidant for your respiratory system.
Okay.
So and helping eliminate free radicals. So and it does that very effectively. So that was kind of the theory I think behind that. NMN, I have no idea, but I know anytime the FDA pulls something that's been around for years and protected under the Dacia law, you question what's the intention here. It's not harming anyone.
Who's the puppeteer, right?
Yeah, but now then on the flip side, when you have some of these things that harm consumers, like some of the stimulants and some of the other stuff, SARMs, I see why the FDA is going after that stuff, and rightfully so. As things progress and we get more data on things, and we see negative affected cases,
especially
of
with
consumers.
Food. I mean, like a lot of the stuff out there in our foods right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I think RFK is he's going to help our industry by giving, I think, us a little bit more leeway in what we do, compared to having the FDA really dog us on specific ingredients, like the ones that should be legal under Dacia. But I think he's going to go after some more things like water quality, food. They already preemptively banned red. What was it? Red 4, Red 40, whatever it is. Yeah, they banned one of the red dyes. I know Ben was just talking about that. And that was
Probably for
before,
the better.
that was even before anyone took office. That was last week. So, I mean,
Okay.
they're getting in line, man. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of good out of it. Both for the bodybuilding, the nutrition industry, the health industry as a whole, America's health. I think it was a very smart move to bring RFK Jr. on for Trump. I think that was a great partner, great move for him politically. And someone I think that everyone in our industry can relate to as like the guy walks the walk. He just doesn't talk the talk. He walks the walk. He goes to Golds. I mean,
I've seen the video where he's benching.
he's jacked.
He's jacked. And
So
he's like, he's in his 70s.
late 70s, almost like 80 years old. The
Almost
dude's
80
jacked.
years old, still benching.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty
Benching
impressive.
plates too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just like he has like 25s. The dude's benching plates in jeans.
Jeans.
In
That's
jeans.
the best part about
like, that's the greatest thing. It's like I could never bench in jeans. I think jeans are comfortable. I'm gonna make fun of my wife here for a second.
Okay.
She thinks I'm a psychopath that I can just sit in like the house with jeans on.
Jeans are great.
I think.
They're-
See,
maybe not lifting in jeans,
she
but,
must
like-
be the only one that's crazy here. So yeah, no, I get a lot of BS for that at home,
We got a guy is jacked,
dude, and he's in jeans.
and he's in jeans.
I mean, I'm not saying that's very comfortable at all. Like, I would not go to the gym.
He's
in
old
jeans.
school, you know.
Yeah.
Got.
I don't know if I saw Arnold ever lift in jeans. Have you seen Arnold lift in jeans?
I don't think Arnold ever lifted in jeans.
We cannot. He could probably ask him because he's always there. I mean, they go to the same gym.
That's awesome.
But yeah, no. I mean, the guy walks the walk. So I'm excited to see what he really
brings.
does. And I'm a small government guy. So
Less government
anything
better, right?
anything to eliminate government waste. That's what I like.
What did JFK say? Is that his cousin? If the government,
I think it's his nephew.
nephew, who says if the government says I'm here to help, be worried or something like that.
Yeah.
We get
yeah.
what is that quote?
No, that was Reagan.
That was Reagan.
That was Reagan. Reagan said, "Hi, I'm here from the government. I'm here to help you." You never trust that word.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so let's go. I read this on your bio. What does it mean? What do you? How do you define a supplement Sherpa?
Yeah.
What does it mean to
I
be
knew
a
that was
supplement
coming.
Sherpa? Come on, we got to explain that.
I knew that was coming. No one's actually ever asked me that. I've had that up for a while now, almost a year, maybe more than a year, and no one's ever asked me that. So when we define Sherpa, like we think of Mount Everest.
Okay. Yeah.
They're
Okay.
Sherpas. They're
Pack
guiding
guys.
people to the top, right?
Okay.
So I'm guiding people with science-based evidence, with good quality product, with third-party testing,
Okay.
with good flavors, marrying that all together and saying, hey, let's figure out how to uplift you to the top of your fitness, nutrition, whatever you want to call it, goals, and guide people there, whether it be retailers. That's more or less what I do, is working with the retailers to get them kind of to the top and give them a top quality, top-notch product so they can have consumers that also meet their goals.
Okay. So as a brand owner, you're there for not just the consumer, but the store owners, everybody on the way up. You're helping them. You're the Sherpa.
Where we want to meet. We want everyone along the process, from the store owner to the consumer, and then ultimately, obviously, the brand,
Right.
to be at the summit, be at the peak.
Okay. The Sherpa. The
So the
supplement
Sherpa.
Sherpa right here. We got him live on a podcast. That's awesome. Let's go. Last question.
Okay.
Favorite product to date from Centurion? It's a tough one. I know. What are you gonna pick? You got to pick one.
God of Thunder,
God of
liquid
Thunder.
pre-workout. First,
that was a
world's
good one.
first liquid glycerol to have a full stimulant pre-workout in it.
Okay.
So liquid glycerol, 98% pure, stimulants, high stimulant, and nootropics as well.
And I got to say that leg day when we took that was pretty stellar.
Yeah, dude.
So-
Yeah. I mean, it's a pump heavy pre-workout for sure. And when we talk about that, not to divulge too much information on how that's made, there's a lot of different processes, and I would not have been able to do that without MacroCap's help
Okay.
and their team. So big shout out to
Talk
them.
about a formula. Look at this right here. So, and maybe one day we get AstraGin there. We'll see.
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, and that's when I'm saying, when you talk about liquid glycerol, you have a different density than water. So then when you have to suspend these things in glycerol, you're like narrowing down this list. And there's a lot of theory to say, okay, maybe you can use this, maybe you can't, because of that density problem.
Okay.
There's some other issues you run into. I don't want to give away too many trade secrets.
What was the flavor we had in that? The liquid glycerol at the.
Did you have you either had grape snow cone or peach mango, or maybe did you have rocket pop?
I think it's Rocket Pop. That sounds like.
So I think that was about when we came out with rocket pop. So you
Okay.
probably had rocket pop. That one's really good.
It was good.
Yeah.
And it was like one easy shot.
One capful is all you need. That's what we
And-
always say. One capful is all you need. Legally, you
convenient.
have to
Super
measure it in
convenient.
tablespoons because we're doing things by the book. It has to be in tablespoons.
Okay.
That's what the guidelines say. If you're doing things the
And
right
like
way.
this product, you have the instructions in the back right there.
Yeah. But I mean,
Table it
listen,
out.
no one's going to carry around a tablespoon before they work out. So, so it's measured in tablespoons on the label, but most people are going to take one shot, kick it back for the convenience, head to the gym. They're going to get a nasty pump, a lot of focus, a lot of energy.
Stellar product.
And they get more servings out of it too if they take one cap. So, compared to 16, it becomes 21 servings. So, really, we sell it as it is truly like a 21 serving bottle, not 16.
Mm-hmm. I was a big fan, so I would agree with you. That is probably one of my favorite products from you guys as well.
Cool. I appreciate that. Yeah, we got really nerdy with it, us and then the guys in the manufacturing facility. And I mean, we were just having a conversation about like, why is no one doing that? And then really when you look at these chemical formulas and scientific formulas that go into making a product like that, that's why no one else is doing it. Cause
a lot of work.
it's a lot of legwork. It's not just a, hey, manufacturer, let's put these 5 things in the product and call it a day, right? It doesn't work like that.
And
with
shelf stable's got to be an issue too.
Yeah. Well, then there's some other things I don't want to get like
We won't get
too
technical.
much into that because
Secret information.
there's some trade secret there that to keep it shelf stable, there's things you have to look at to make sure that it's shelf stable.
All right.
So
Well, let's get you filming some products for the stores down south.
Cool.
And we'll get Ken up here.
cool.
Go from there. I think that was pretty good. That was what 50.
Over an hour.
An hour.
Like when are they gonna stop talking?
I was like, we should. As long as we get 30 minutes of like talking in, we're good.